Grand Theft Auto 4 on PC is a game that endures in spite of itself and the platform it runs on. And in 2025, the community who has been redressing this game's issues for nearly 2 decades has taken the game forward into the future with the introduction of RTX Remix into the game. Yes, that is right. Thanks to modder XOXOR4D, RTX Remix is working in the PC version of GTA 4, gracing the game with fully path trace rendering and lighting. Path trace GTA 4 on PC. Truly a magnificent thing to celebrate, but this is only the beginning of the game's path trace journey, and getting to this point in 2025 was not easy. Getting RTX Remix and path tracing to work with GTA 4 was not a simple plug-and-play job, and I asked modder XOXOR4D directly, and they explained that much custom work had to be done to make it work at all in the first place and to get it to the point where it is right now. See, RTX Remix works best with those games that utilized DirectX 7's fixed function pipeline, so from 1998-ish to 2003, hence why many games I've covered on the channel are from that era or at least support the rendering pipeline later on for some reason. GTA 4 on PC though came out in 2008 and is a DirectX 9C game that does not run on fixed function graphics cards at all. So to get it working, it required internal knowledge about how GTA 4 works. Being a DirectX 9C game, many aspects of the graphics like where moving object vertices are or where the camera even is not at all standardized, and it is obfuscated to a large degree. So XOXOR4D had to peek into the game's code via reverse engineering to find these structures in the calls to Direct3D and intercept them. He has his own DLL intercept between the game and RTX Remix, which regulates and parses things sent off to Remix for rendering, including world objects, light positions, and the camera. A lot of these structures had to be found manually by the modder, and due to intimate knowledge of the game and its workings, a surprising amount of things like all the static world objects could be manipulated to be sent off to Remix as fixed function calls, as if the game was rendering DX7, even though it actually isn't. This saves on performance and it makes the translation much more automatic, but not everything was so simple as that. Moving and deforming objects in particular did not come packaged with uncompromised information necessary for their rendering, so Remix does end up doing some vertex shader translation for a number of world objects. You also have the game's weather, fog, and post-processing, which is completely opaque, and Remix has no understanding of it at all. So the modder once again had to go into the game code and find all those systemic structures there and mirror that functionality in his intercept, passing on information about color, post-processing saturation, fog density, and more to Remix, which then has analogous capabilities in its renderer, and values are set accordingly, automatically. This is why the mod has a desaturated look at all like the original, or why it has any time of day effects. The mod can vary the post-processing and weather just like the base game does, and Remix is rendering this stuff based upon the information that the mod is shunting off from the main game. And this is actually very uncommon in RTX Remix projects. XOXOR4D's intercepts is directly utilizing the game's systems and its values and sending them off to Remix, which allows the game to look like it does. This interception work is why a lot of the systemic details show up in RTX Remix, like emissive value variation, which will cause pulsing or flashing texture brightness. You can find those on headlamps or on the turn signals of cars. RTX Remix can then render these with the proper information due to the intercept and actually make them emit real light from their surface, something that would be impossible without path tracing. It's also why the game at night with the mod can have emissive signs that turn on and off, casting green, red, or yellow glows across the environment in the shape of the sign. Since this mod is using those structures from GTA 4 to inform RTX Remix's rendering, it goes far beyond the usual RTX Remix project, and as a result, it has a ton of room for growth. With enough time and work, modders could create a truly transformative and polished experience unlike anything we've seen in the past before. And yes, it is still early days here. As you've probably noticed, textures and materials are still largely untouched in the mod at the moment, beyond some basic conversions. So they'll be low res and lack proper materials, so some things can either look too dull at the moment, or they'll have the wrong level of reflectivity. Making convincing materials and texture replacements will take time, and here I imagine the community will be doing a lot of heavy lifting. Likewise, you may have noticed that some scenes appear strangely lit, such as indoor scenes. A reason for this is because GTA GTA 4 was a deferred rendered game, and game artists back in the day were placing a bunch of filler lights everywhere to emulate a bounce light look. Take the stairwell here outside the safe house. This room has tons of fill lights in it to give it the look that it has, and I think it looks a little odd with path tracing. If we look at the debug views that the mod offers by hitting F4, we can see tons of fill lights in this scene. Light sources that do not correspond with a light fixture in the world and are just kind of floating around. At the moment, the mod will leave these on per default, but the modder has been able to intercept these lights from the original game code and has the ability to filter them manually or automatically, so you can turn them off as I show here. This is amazing that this can be done at all, but XOXOR4D thinks the best solution in the future would not be to filter these fill lights. Rather, modders would make custom maps in the game for the game world that have changed light positions that actually reflect the light fixtures in the world more accurately. That is kind of the amazing thing about this mod. It is a tool set or a bridge which will allow modders to tailor the base game to fit the lighting that RTX Remix can offer. Even with it being unfinished, of course, I already think it looks amazing. And the sky really is the limit for how this will look in time when more people work on it and meticulously scour GTA 4's vast world, replacing assets, textures, tune lighting positions, and much, much more. The only thing getting in the way at the moment is, of course, performance, and not GPU performance like you might think. GTA 4 was already notoriously inefficient as a DX9 game. And starting with that bad base, we now have a translation layer and an entire BVH of draw calls to worry about before rendering actually happens. So the game is now very CPU bound again. Yep. Time is a flat circle. If you pump up the draw distance for everything to the fullest, you will probably be CPU limited with this mod. Just strolling down a boulevard sees the 9800 X3D limited to the 40 FPS region at times when maxed out, with the RTX 5090 being underutilized. Yep, CPU limited at 4K output with path tracing. To get better frame rates in general, when playing the game, you'll want to turn down those draw sliders, like to 30 or so, and you want to make sure that as many of the graphical options are set to off or low in the menu as you see here. They aren't working anyway really, but having them set to off or low will incur less spurious calls to that translation layer. Coming to the end of this video, I'm extremely excited to see where the community and XOXOR4D take this in the future. Even in its infancy stage, it is incredibly compelling and an amazing come around for a PC version with infamous history. Looking at mods like this goes to show the real power of the PC platform, its users. In spite of the poor nature of the original product and the operating system, which seems intent on making it worse, dedicated enthusiasts like those from the Fusion Fix project or XOXOR4D tirelessly work to enhance and fix things in games with a burning passion, and highlighting that work is a joy for me.